Hey, welcome to my channel. My name is Carter. I love talking about movies, superheroes, comic books, and horror movies, and 2 out of those 4 categories are on topic today with Joker Folie, Deux, the sequel to 2019's Joker. Both are written and directed by Todd Phillips and both star Joaquin Phoenix. The sequel also has Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn. Let me know if you watched Joker Folie, Deux down in the comment section below. Let me know if you loved it, if you hated it. This film actually gathered a lot of buzz because it was announced as a sequel to the highest grossing R-rated film until Deadpool and Wolverine, and that Joaquin Phoenix would come back for his first sequel ever. Todd Phillips would be returning for more sequels since The Hangover Part 3, since he did 2 more sequels. And this movie is essentially, if I can sum it up in one sentence, what The Hangover 3 is to Hangover is what Joker Folie, Deux is to The Joker for me. And that's coming from someone who's not even a big fan of the first Joker. It's a movie that I often say I respect much more than I enjoy. Personally, I feel like the writing has a lot of issues in the first Joker, and it can feel a little derivative at times. Well, I think that Joaquin Phoenix is incredible in the role, and I think that Todd Phillips and his cinematographer, who I cannot remember the name of, I apologize, have a fantastic eye for visuals. I think that the story leaves a lot to be desired and sometimes can just kind of be, like I said, a little derivative. And that's just my opinion. I know a lot of people really strongly disagree with that. In my film classes that I have at university, people love to rag on me for that, but it's really funny. It's all jokes. And needless to say, I was a little nervous for Joker Folie, Deux, but I wanted to check it out regardless. And getting right into the positives with this film, this is a movie that, again, I think looks fantastic. From the set design, set dressing, costume design, cinematography, just everything from the gaffing, just looks phenomenal. Honestly, hats off to the technical team on this. Technically, sometimes I say a lot that movies are like technically really good to look at. This is definitely on the higher end of that. All the frames look really, really well. There's a few times where the focus is a little off, just in like conversations or random scenes. For the most part, it looks really good. And when it lives up to that musical aspect, when it really plays around with the musical, and the Joker and Harley, Joker and Leigh are dancing on a roof, or Joker and Leigh are dancing in a courtroom and singing, that's when I thought that the movie in its musical aspects was at its strongest. If it had to be a musical, if it really had no other choice but to be a musical, then that's when it was at its strongest, when it played up that fantasy within Arthur Fleck's head, and it played up just that insanity that he really has. I think a lot of people will be a little bummed at what it does to kind of reinterpret the first Joker. A lot of times I hear that people love the first Joker because it's up to interpretation by the end of it. You don't know if Arthur's actually crazy or if he's a Joker. You don't know what's real, what's in his head. And I think that this movie does a lot to say, no, this is real. The first Joker is completely real. And that will turn a lot of people off. Me personally, it didn't bother me since I'm not a huge fan of that movie. So that was just a random side note. But, you know, if you're someone that's going to be annoyed that the film doesn't play with reality, it does in those musical aspects, but not in the way that you were probably hoping it does. Another positive, I mean, again, the cinematography is beautiful. I feel like I can't say that enough. It looks phenomenal. Just had to add that on, just as another, you know, kind of giving this movie its credit where its credit is due. Another positive is Joaquin Phoenix in the role of Arthur Fleck. He's always been very good. I mean, there are a few lines or a few direction choices from Todd Phillips in both films that I think are just absurd. So weird. In the first one, the werewolf and go wild line is terrible, and just, in my opinion, and some other choices that Joaquin and Todd make for the role of Arthur Fleck in the first film, just minute details that just kind of bother me, annoy me, because I'm such a big comic book fan. These movies kind of just like, ugh, why are we doing this? The Joker is someone who shouldn't have an origin. If you really have to have an origin, be like the Killing Joke, to where it's a little ambiguous, but he chooses his own origin. It's like a choose your own adventure. One of his quotes is like that. But in Folie, Deux, I think Phoenix was good, but not nearly as good as he was in the first Joker, and that's mainly because the material just doesn't give him enough to shine. And this is where my mixed and my negatives are just going to come flooding in. The material here, honestly, this movie is really just a negative overall for me. I feel like so much of this is just like Todd Phillips being like, yeah, we had to make a sequel to a $1 billion movie. Let's make it a musical. Why not make it a musical? And then they kind of wrote half the script, realized they had only half of a story because the other, I don't know, 75% of that story was because my big issue with this film is just the story. A lot of it feels so undercooked. So much of it is just a recap of the first Joker. Yeah, Arthur killed those 5 or 6 people, including his mother, and that's what happened. He shot Murray Franklin on live TV. On one hand, I appreciate how much it's like Arthur killed those people, and it really makes it feel like it was like a tragic event, not like, yeah, haha, are the Joker's killing people like he always does. Like, no, Arthur killed those 6 people. Those 6 people really mattered. This is the impact that it had. I found that aspect of it pretty interesting, but also it just overdoes it so much. A lot of this movie is really just an epilogue of Joker just really hammering home, like, yeah, Joker killed those people. This is what happened in Joker. We're going to show shots and scenes from the first Joker. And so when it comes to that sequel aspect of expanding upon the narrative and expanding upon those themes, I feel like this film really drops the ball. A lot of people I talked to after the theater were really upset with where it took Arthur's character. As someone who, again, doesn't care for Arthur's character, I didn't care at all. I really just wanted an interesting story with interesting characters, and I feel like I just didn't get that. Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn is okay. She's not in the film a ton. When she's in the film, she's mostly singing. A lot of her dialogue is just so cringe and bad because just Todd Phillips, I don't think he's the best writer for these movies. I'm sorry. I really try and be positive. I don't ever want to go in and just bash a movie and rant on a movie. However, when it comes to like something that I really feel just drops the ball, I honestly don't know what else to say about Joker Folie other than it really dropped the ball. The musical aspect feels like a gimmick that's just played up. A lot of it, I mean, it's so funny when before the film released, they're like, it's not a musical, they're just singing to express their feelings. Yeah, that's what a musical is. Like, musical is characters singing songs to express their feelings, to move the plot forward. That's what a musical is. I mean, I would be lying if I said that the songs in Joker move the plot forward except for like 1 or 2. It's really just kind of because they either didn't want to write dialogue for those characters in that scenes. They wanted characters to get from point A to point B. They didn't know how to say it. They wanted to really hit you over the head with imagery and song lyrics that they didn't write themselves. I apologize. Honestly, this video would be like a 20-minute Joker rant. Hi, buddy. My cat is meowing really, really loud. And honestly, I just don't know what else to say. Oh, there's my cat. It just feels like a retread of the first film in all the wrong ways to where it doesn't add on anything, but instead it just retreads the first film, retells it, and just kind of recaps everything for you. The way I described it after the film ended is that if you're a comic book fan or a fan of the first Joker, Phillips and company just kind of dangle a carrot on a stick in front of you, or you know that commercial with a dude on with a dollar bill on the fishing line, just kind of dangle it in front of you, and then when you think you're gonna get something, rear it back, kind of pull it back in to get you to keep watching the film. A lot of that is with comic book references to the first film, just lines from the first film, like you wouldn't get it, that you're supposed to be like, oh my gosh, Joker said the line. And also I think that Todd Phillips just goes overboard with like trying to be edgy, and this is going to go into slight spoiler territory from here on out. So Zack Snyder did an interview a while ago where he said that his Batman would be realistic, his Batman would get raped in prison. Well, you don't have to worry about seeing Batman get raped in prison because Joker gets raped in prison instead. Joker, for some reason, he just gets raped in prison for some reason. He's a 5-pump chump, which is pretty awesome. You get to see that on screen, so that's pretty great. This movie just left a really bad taste in my mouth. I walked out really unsatisfied. A lot of people are going to have issues with the ending. Ironically, I feel like the ending was the most interesting part for me. It tried to do something different, but also it was the ending that most people expected from the first one. So, I mean, did it really do anything different? Who knows? That is up for you to decide. Well, guys, overall, Joker Folie was really disappointing. I walked out very disappointed. I didn't even have high hopes for it. This was a movie to where it rubbed me the wrong way and aggravated me so bad. I'm going to give it, honestly, a 2.5. I just don't ever see myself rewatching this film, and I'm honestly not too psyched that I watched it in the first place. It's one of the more disappointing and just more frustrating movies on a story level that I've seen this year. So again, a 2.5. And as always, have a great rest of your day.